as a result of when we start dealing with Muslims on an individual level, you begin to see the differences. You begin to see there are different ways of being Muslim in European context. So you have very much, I say, Muslims that have been secularized, who have changed from where they used to come from in the way of thinking, where they come from in the countries like Morocco or Pakistan. Now in the European secularized environment, their religious way of doing things becomes more secularized, individualistic. Saying, well, I do read the Quran, but I just take things out of that from what I like, and I leave the other things that I don't like. But also modern Muslims who are, or even nominal Muslims, or others who are trying to be revolutionizing Islam from inside out, saying now they have the opportunity to read for themselves all the sources of the past that only were accessible to the imams and the leaders are now accessible to everyone. People begin to read for themselves. Hey, this is what the Quran says, but I don't really like it, or I don't agree with it, or this is not what I think it should be, or this is not in agreement with the way it has been expressed in the past. So people become critical. So you have critical Muslims, you have those that try to reform Islam from inside out, you have feministic movement within Islam, you have people that actually are leaving Muslims altogether. They are not Christians, but they're just ex-Muslims. They want to be notified on the website, I'm an ex-Muslim, I have nothing to do with Islam anymore, it was part of my culture, but it's not part of me now. You have cultural Muslims, who just happen to be Muslims by just from the background. You have, you have so many shapes and forms of Islam in Europe. And you begin to see that. When you begin to focus on the people, you begin to say, hey, how do they express? They're all Muslims, at least by name, maybe, or even the name may be Muhammad or Fatima, but the way they actually are implementing their Muslim faith is very, very different. And this helps us as Christians, when we more notice, is also how to then engage with them. Because you're engaging very different with a person who has studied the Quran, who has learned it by heart, who's using it all the time. That's a different approach you need to take to that particular person than a person that never read the Quran in their life at all. And you can say, well, I have studied the Quran, I know how to fight it with the words from the Bible. Yeah, but that's a different tool. You don't need that tool, because that person doesn't need it. And if you deal with Muslim women, for instance, they have different needs, they express their Islamic faith in a different way. And the more we understand Islam from their point of view, the better it is for us as Christians to prepare how can we then engage in such a way that the gospel becomes meaningful to them. Gospel can be meaningful to a radical Muslim in a different way than the gospel is meaningful for a more secularized Muslim. And it helps us enormously to begin almost in a sense on the other side of the spectrum, to start from the Islamic side and work our way backwards, and then adapt our approach to ministry accordingly.